Thank you so much. Okay, let's see. So I think we'll start with the few brief introductions. Let's get to know each other. Let's see what we have learned from our exchange programs, or the programs in your country, what we are doing right now. Or Mithwasana, I have listed down three things. Like, we'll go with the country wise, like which country are you from, your name, what you are doing, what your exchange program was, and how it helped you explore your horizons. So we'll start with those very brief introductions. Bangladesh, starting from Mr. Nurullah Bal. Can you just introduce yourself very briefly?
Oh, thank you. And good afternoon from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I'm Nurullah. I work with WaterAid Bangladesh. And I went in 2009 and 10 to Tulane University under the Humphrey Fellowship Program. So that was fully in health policy, health management. And I have been working for about 20 plus years in public health sector in Bangladesh and in other countries. So currently I work with WaterAid in the capacity of supporting health programs, wash in health programs, health and wash integration to the broader health sector. So very briefly this is from my side. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hello, I'm Devojit Shah from Bangladesh.
So
Thank you
next would
for
be
inviting us.
Mr. Jibot, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm not right.
Oh, am I audible now?
Yes, you are audible. Please go on.
Okay. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for giving me the floor. I'm Devojit Shah. So I was part of Jalkona Catalyst. It's an entrepreneur exchange program. It was back in 2015. So we learned a lot. Like, we visited some of the great corporate houses like Microsoft, Amazon, and we learned a lot about entrepreneurship. And in Bangladesh, I'm actually working as a consultant. I work with entrepreneurs and try to help them in developing strategic guidance for businesses. Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Mr. Shazib is he here?
Hi, my name is Shazib Mohammed Khairul Islam, joining you from Dhaka, Bangladesh. I currently work as the founder and managing director of YY Ventures Limited. We are an incubation and investment social business supporting early stage entrepreneurs who fight poverty, unemployment, and carbon emission. I am a Jalkona Catalyst and also a Global Entrepreneurship Summit alumni. So both of these programs took place in 2015, respectively in Seattle and in Nairobi. Throughout these programs, I really got to engage with high-end corporates like Microsoft or Google, and also see how entrepreneurship happens firsthand in developing economies. And some of those learnings have really helped me shape some of the accelerator and incubation programs that we run today in Bangladesh. Thank you so much.
Awesome. That's very interesting. Okay, then we have alumni from Nepal, starting with Mr. Raghavendra, right? I'm sorry again. Mr. Raghavendra, can you please briefly introduce yourself, sir?
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Raghavendra Mathur, and I'm from Nepal. And I co-founded, along with my two other partners, a company named Repoli Cyclists. Basically, we work in implementing source segregation of waste, collecting the waste materials, post-processing the waste materials, and supplying it to the secondary market where it gets utilized by the industries. So we have been in this for past, and we are pretty much in depth involved in the whole waste management scenario in Nepal. And that has been a great learning curve to understand the whole social enterprise and related fields, including sustainability, climate change. I was part of a professional exchange program in 2020, right before the pandemic, 2019, sorry. And that time, the most, let's say, the prime thing that was, the prime of my visit was a visit to materials recovery facility. We actually always wanted to set up a materials recovery facility in Kathmandu, in Nepal. And we got to see a proper operational facility and understand the entire business model, how actually waste management companies operate in the western part of the world. So we actually are in process of implementing a similar model in Nepal right now, and probably will see a running model in 2022 end or 2023 early. Thank you.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you so much, Mr. Santosh. Yes.
Hello, Namaste. Good afternoon.
Good
I'm Santosh
afternoon.
Paudel. I'm also working in the waste management sector. It's been more than 12 years I'm working in the sector of waste management. I've been to community solution program in 2015. Then after returning back, I initiated my new company, Waste Service, then which is the Nepal first hospital waste management company. We based on Pokhara, one of the uh, second biggest city of Nepal, then one of the tourism hub. Uh, More than that, like we are working on hospital waste management. We establish a common type of hospital waste treatment facility in Pokhara city. So we linked all the healthcare institute by utilizing a common type of hospital waste treatment facility. So right now we are involving to exchange our this kind of expertism across the country, mostly focusing on the governmental hospital, partnering with government and different development agencies. More than that, I'm also involved in local politics. Of the Democratic Party here in the town, Pokhara city. Uh, we are more than that. We also uh, like after doing this project, after returning back from the fellowship, like the period, the time that I spent at Florida in my host organization, like that been one of the ice breaking kind of time in my entrepreneurial career. Then
Okay.
after that, we are smoothly working on, and so far it's good going on. Good to see you,
Okay.
everyone. Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much for the opportunity as
Thank
well.
you, Santosh. That was a very brief and detailed explanation at the same time. Okay, Miss Sonia.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. I'm
Good
Sonia
afternoon.
Wali, and unlike everyone else here who are researchers, I'm with the paper here in Kathmandu called Nepali Times, where I'm the executive editor, as well as serving as its health, environment, and science correspondent. And I've extensively covered the issues of solid waste management. So my exchange program in 2020, it was during the pandemic, in fact. It was International Visitors Leadership Program. While it was primarily about air pollution, but during our short visit, we're able to meet up with a lot of pioneers of like industry experts and pioneers of renewable energy, and also sort of meet up with the policymakers and entrepreneurs and the experts and on how to uh, who provided us an intimate look into how to balance environment, health, and businesses with cutting edge technology. I'll keep it short at that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, alumni from Nepal. Then we'll move on to alumni from Pakistan, starting with Mr. Salman Tariq.
Thank you, Danish. Hello, everyone. My name is Salman. I am joining in from Karachi, Pakistan. I have a background in the the energy sector that evolved into clean energy, that evolved into waste to energy, which now evolved into the waste management and the obsession with how to reduce or solve this problem in Pakistan. I went to Columbia University on a Fulbright scholarship in the master's program. I did my MPA in energy and environment from 2015 to 17. And since I came back, I did not decide to join the corporate sector or any established organization. I co-founded my own company called the WAM. And since then, amongst other sustainable businesses like solar and energy efficiency, we're also piloted and did a lot of research, practical on-the-ground research projects in waste management, especially materials recovery, collecting the waste, sorting, segregation, kind of recovering as much value as we could in the last 2.5 or 3 years. Born out of that passion was an idea that consumers need to be given an option to reduce waste at source. So we innovated during COVID times when our engineers were not doing anything, we were working on solar and other projects. We engineered our own innovative refill station. And right now we're in this very early stage process. We've convinced one of the brands to kind of have their product in this refill station so that consumers can bring back their packaging and refill and just pay for the product rather than buying a single use one-off purchase every time. And now we're kind of scaling this idea up by incorporating other brands. And I believe that this is part of the larger conversation on waste management, which is not just post collection but also at the consumption levels, because we need to reduce the growth of waste. And that's what we're doing. We're also simultaneously setting up collection centers where we collect plastic waste and make sure that it ends up with the recyclers. So one part of waste management we're doing. The other battle of waste management is pitching to municipalities of doing a formal waste management, which is putting up materials recovery facilities. So multiple things at the same time, from the consumption side to the post-consumption side.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Salman. Very interesting work. Miss Amina.
Thank you, Danish. Hello all, I'm Amna Ansari from Karachi, Pakistan. I'm an IVLP alum from the class of 2020 on waste to energy technologies. I have been engaged in the energy finance and business development field since 2009. And I'm currently working with Bridge Factor, which is a financial consultancy firm. And since 2017, our clients have been provincial government or government of Sindh. And we work with them on a number of infrastructure projects that are primarily planned under the public-private partnership mode. And waste to energy or proper waste management, like Salman, has been a passion for many years. And recently, the Sindh government has allowed a waste to energy policy. They want to encourage private sector participation, starting from potential projects in Karachi. So I feel the timing is apt to have this conversation.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Lastly, and not least, we have Mr. Amir Hayat.
Thank you very much, Danish. I'm sorry I'm unable to start my video, as I think you would have been informed that due to some uncertain circumstances I'm traveling. So this is Amir Hayat Bandara, and if I talk about my introduction, I'm a farmer by profession, and beside that, a politician. Was elected member of the local government here, the district council. You can say the third tier of the government in Pakistan. And I was representing the farming community here for last 5 years. I'm IVLP alumnus, and my course was on US agriculture technology practice. Due to pandemic, we couldn't travel to US, and that's why that was the virtual IVLP program. And if I talk about waste management and agriculture, normally and environment, we the farmers say that we are growing food for the world, but word generally say about us that the abundant agriculture wastes are being generated each day. And recently you perhaps India and Pakistan are facing a very big challenge, that is the smog, the air pollution, and normally and generally we the farmers are the victims, as everyone blamed that we burn crop residues, and that's why the smog happened. The air pollution is, affecting the lives of the people. So I was doing something, and I'm raising awareness among the farmers, but still we are not in a position, a farmer is not in a position to do many things altogether to curb this thing.
Okay, awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Amir. Okay, now we're done with introductions, and I think now is the time for our keynote speaker to give his remarks. Over to you, Anup. I think we'll start with your keynote, and then we'll start with the group photo. Okay.
Thank you so much, Danish Ji, and it's a beyond a pleasure to be here and to hear all of your impressive bios. I mean, I have to say, you all are an impressive bunch of people that are far smarter than I am. That's a good segue for me to introduce myself. I'm just the Deputy Cultural Affairs Officer in the Public Affairs section of the U.S. Embassy here in Kathmandu. So in addition to helping to lead our cultural exchanges and academic exchanges and et cetera, I'm responsible for our public diplomacy engagement with established opinion leaders and influential individuals and institutions, much like yourselves. And it's just a personal pleasure for me to hear about all of how your exchange experiences have informed your expertise and have enriched your bios and have propelled you to where you are today. It really is impressive. And that's one of the things I love about my job, is that I get to not only see these programs from formulation on paper, but to then actually put them to real faces and real lives like yourselves, who are making a huge impact in the world. So I commend you on that. But before I came to the embassy, just a little bit more about myself. I come to the embassy with over 20 years of experience, mostly in the higher education, international higher education sector. I was a professor for many years of international education and public policy at the Johns Hopkins University and at the George Washington University as well, in the Washington, D.C. area. I also have been involved in global business development in the nonprofit, private and startup sectors as well. So it's a pleasure for me to be amongst your company and to learn a little bit more about your background. I have not a shred of experience in waste management, but definitely the entrepreneurial hunger and mindset to support and hear about your wonderful achievements. So with that, it's amazing to me that the alumni across the region have discussed so many important topics recently. First amongst them are waste management, but also issues such as air quality, gender-based violence, transparency and accountability, grants management. These are all timely and relevant topics that we are intimately involved with across the region. And we really appreciate your role as leaders in your community and in your professional sector to continue to look for innovative ways to solve local and regional challenges. And we, at the embassy and across all of the embassies in your regions as well, I can speak on behalf of all of my American counterparts that we will always look to opportunities to support all of you and to partner with you in ways that we can to solve mutual problems. USG alumni and like you are all at the forefront of the leadership in all of the countries. Your vigilance and enthusiasm are key to addressing these pressing issues. Here in Nepal, as some of our distinguished Nepali guests will know, we have an active alumni organization, the Nepal-U.S. Alumni Network, or informally known as NUSAN, that organizes events of several of these relevant topics. Our other alumni organizations and local partners have engaged with us to support Nepal to become more resilient, more stable, and more inclusive. So they're really an integral part of our U.S. mission goals and our U.S. government's priorities, and likewise in all of your respective countries as well. Today's theme is important for the United States. As recently as November 2021, our US Secretary of State Antony Blinken said at an Oceans Plastic event that the private sector will need to do more to cut plastic pollution and invest in innovation. We recognize that different actors will have different capacities to act, but every nation, every community, and indeed every individual has a role to play. While this event may have highlighted one type of pollution, the US government is equally committed to address other pollutants that have negative impact on our planet, and climate change has quickly become as one of the moral and urgent pressing issues of our time, even here in Nepal, has become one of our key, if not one of our foundational pillars of our work, cross-cutting everything that we're doing, whether they range from economic prosperity programs to academic exchanges to our USAID partnerships, which are range from a wide variety of partnerships. Waste management is one of the top challenges of urbanization, as we've seen as well. Its management starts from individual households. Any action to create public awareness, improve the mechanisms to support the government to perform better will help the community to solve larger environmental problems in the region. As you all discuss the impact of this issue, I recognize the fact that there are entrepreneurial and business opportunities in this sector. Some participants today, like yourselves, are excellent examples of how you've made that mark here using your expertise through these programs. Your vision and commitment set a path toward upgrading the health of everyone around us, and we commend you. Therefore, with that said, we urge all of our alumni to come forward to address such issues and share your knowledge to contribute toward the effectiveness of the approach to solve the problems. Your best practices would one day provide an opportunity to generate income, partner with private organizations, create jobs, reduce expenses, mobilize communities, develop sustainable practices leading to a healthy lifestyle. And finally, I would like to thank the regional missions for their continued partnership. I would particularly like to thank the alumni coordinators, Sohanji from Bangladesh, Sihanji from Nepal, and Wasimji from Pakistan for their work on coordinating and organizing these dialogues. So with that, welcome everyone. And once again, and thank you, Danish Aziz, for moderating the session today. So back to you, and I wish you all the best for a productive dialogue today.
Thank you so much, Anam. That was a very intuitive and very warming session. Okay, I think next up we need to take a group photo. So what we'll do is we'll try to turn our cameras on, if that is possible for everybody. You can quickly do that. Okay, I can see. Let me just put my gallery view on. Okay.
Hello.
My video is not on.
Okay, so let's wait for our participants. Let me just change the view to gallery view. So let's just wait for 5 more seconds or so that everyone, or those who are willing to be part of our group photo, can turn on their cameras. Okay, so on the count of 3, please. 1, 2, okay, Nurullah Sahab was just wearing his glasses. On the count of 3, please. 1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Perfect. And now for the second picture, just for being on safe side, I want you to make a crazy face or a crazy gesture. It can't be anything. You can just wave your hands, you can just give a big fat smile, or you can just tilt your heads, anything like that. I just want to show people that we are fun people, and no matter COVID has restrained us to our homes, we are still having lots of fruitful discussions, and we are still so happy at our hearts. So on the count of 3, please. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you so much. Back to you, Danish.
Okay. So next up we have this section where I'll ask brief questions, very brief questions and very brief answers from. I'll try to include everybody in it, and maybe if you guys have questions you want to ask from other alumni, you can. But let's try to extract as much information as possible, right? So starting with our alumni from Bangladesh, I believe that Mr. Nurullah, he has a medical background, right? So one of the things that has happened during COVID is that our medical waste has skyrocketed, right? And it was there before, but now it is on a whole another scale. So I would like to understand that how should we, and how are we handling medical waste right now?
Yeah, thank you very much. So for me, it's a very timely, and I don't know how it really matched up. For example, WaterAid in Bangladesh have been working in washing healthcare facility for like last 4 or 5 years, and mainly ensuring safe and running water supply at the hospital, clinics, primary health center. ensuring gender segregated safe sanitation facilities in the healthcare facilities. And finally, with the COVID surge, then we also focused on the hand washing options, creating the running water to ensure hand washing in the critical moments. So during the COVID time, we also took two other aspects of wash in healthcare facility, particularly the infection prevention control, and most importantly, the healthcare waste management. And actually, we were very much struggling with the challenge, in particularly in the rural hospital or the sub-district level hospitals that we have in 64 districts in Bangladesh. The major challenge was the non-segregation part, the disposal part, and we had been struggling with the Ministry of Health at the central and national level, also in the district and divisional level, how to manage it. So we have been in discussion for last 2 years, and fortunately we received the funding from WHO, the local office, and also Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation to undergo a pilot project in the very northern district in Gaibandha. And for the 6 health sub-district hospital facility over there, we piloted the project to develop and initiate a medical waste care, medical waste management facility to develop, to train the health personnel, including from the top of the hospital, like the doctor,
Okay.
nurse, administrator, until the cleaner and all the people involved in the cleaning process. And
Okay.
also informing the clients who come there to seek service and their attendance as well in the indoors. So that was a
Okay.
very big mega project for us
Mhm.
to initiate the healthcare waste management project first time in Bangladesh
Okay. Understood.
in the public
Okay.
healthcare facility.
Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
Should
So
I continue?
next follow-up. No, no, you can. Let's discuss your project maybe in the detail section. Right now, I just want to figure out what we are doing and how we are doing it, how the current challenges related to your field, just asking those questions from almost everyone right here, right? So next would be Mr. Debut. You also worked on sustainable development goals, right? So we talk about this medical waste, and we talk about the household waste, and we talk about the factory waste, and we talk about the factory waste as well. Educate our general public that these things are actually very, very harmful to our environment, and how can we communicate that through the sustainable development goals?
Can you come again? I understand that the medical waste is harmful to our society. So something like that. Can you be a bit more brief about the question?
Okay. Let me be very brief here. Okay, so I want to understand that you have been working on sustainable development goals, right? And we were talking about medical waste, and there's household waste, there's factory waste. How can we use sustainable development goals and address these challenges to our general public?
Right. So one of the when we are talking about sustainability, one of the important criteria which we always overlook, businesses overlook. Businesses are mostly driven by profit. But if you see that community is one of the key aspects of any sort of business we talk about. So when we are actually designing our businesses, it is important to understand the community and how the communities at large are also getting benefited. So when we are designing a business plan, it is also important to understand one of the key stakeholders, the community. If they are not having a healthy lifestyle, then it is becoming difficult, because the community serves your customers, the community serves the employees, the community serves their managements. So the well-being of people is very important. And the waste problem, it actually caters to our society at large, because over the years, what we have thought is like waste problem only hampers the people at the bottom of the pyramid, and people at the top of the pyramid often has tended to overlook that. But if you see, if we are not treating our water well, then there's a crisis of water, drinking water, which affects everyone. So these are some of the ways where businesses, when they're thinking of profit, they can also design their business in such a way that they're actually treating the waste, taking care of the environment, and serving the community at large. So that way we can actually come up with solutions which will be sustainable.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much. So coming to Shahzeb, so we talked about the medical waste, then we talked about the sustainable part and the business part. And now I want to understand from you, like recently there has been a shift in entrepreneurial mindset that, you know what, this is a challenge, we can solve this. It is called entrepreneurship, right? But you also have to make money. So, and in the ecosystem of startups where there are 10,000 or 20,000 startups every year, how can an eco startup compete with so much medical waste, with so much sustainability and, you know, all that? How can an eco startup work in a giant network of startups?
Thank you so much for the question, Danish. First of all, I would like to connect what I'm going to say in the next 60 seconds or 90 seconds with what Debojit just said. And also to answer your question, like our world and the country is in a crisis. And every crisis creates opportunities for entrepreneurial minds to come up with ideas, to come up with solutions. For example, if we just consider Cox's Bazar, in Bangladesh, you know, multi-layer plastics, single-layer plastics, waste clothes, wrappers, foil papers. There are so many of these non-valuable materials which has no demand in the local market. And as a result, most of the cases, they end up in the ocean, water bodies, or landfills. Now, as an entrepreneur, we like to ask, I as a person like to ask, you know, small questions and also come up with small solutions. What can you do to recycle those? What can you do to upcycle those? Waste is either nothing or it's a resource. So we like to look at waste as a resource. And the moment you design a business and this has a customer base, this will continue to operate. For example, from our incubation programs, 4 years ago, we supported a company called Garbage Man. And at the beginning, when we really started to see the pilot of Garbage Man happening, I spoke to the entrepreneur Fahim. He said, either it's going to be a lesson for me or a blessing. But now they are a full-fledged limited company providing organic product and reliable services that protect the environment while improving the socioeconomic stance of the system. This is happening due to two reasons. Number one, I think today's generation of youth are more responsible. And secondly, there is a growing education around circularity and sustainability that we see. Another thing, recently we ran a program, we call it Waste to Resources, and we are funding something called Go Green Bangladesh. Their solutions are very simple. How can you, stop using plastic bottles and use something that is more sustainable? How can you get rid of plastic straws and you replace those with jute straws, right? And then we run a co-working space where 60+ entrepreneurs work. It's there. Everybody loves it. Everybody uses it. So again, small actions. It's like taking a shorter shower each day is going to certainly help the environment. So that's why I think there's a demand in the market, and if you can come up with an entrepreneurial solution, this will definitely work.
Absolutely, yes. Okay, moving on to my alumni from Nepal, Mr. Raghavendra, you have a background in electronics engineering, right? And one of the things which fascinates me is that we have all these fancy electronics around us, we are using it right now. And during COVID times, specifically, the demand for electronics has skyrocketed, right? But also has the waste of, electronics has also increased, instrumented very, very high. So is there a way to understand and how should we cater the waste of electronics, right? Because this is a very, very challenging situation, because these PCBs or these circuit boards were made with very, very high toxic pollutants, right? They were made using very unsustainable practices, right? And they end up in landfills and in oceans, and just even if it's in your home and it's burning, it is creating that air pollution, right? So I want to understand, are there any ways to cater electronic waste right now in the world? And if there are no ways right now, what could be those ways which we could learn about, and for the broader audience to understand what are the simpler ways to reduce our electronic footprint?
Exactly, Danish. I think if we speak broadly about this issue, there are 3 to 4 aspects. If we talk about, one is social, which is awareness. People still don't know how toxic is actually electronic waste. And second issue probably, which is infrastructure related issue. Like most of South Asian countries, we don't have enough infrastructure to deal with, this new kind of electronic waste, which is kind of, expanding in such a way that it's almost next to plastic now. And the third major factor, which is crucial in electronic waste management, is the policies. Because by nature, the waste, it cannot be transported to multiple countries. Countries have put a ban on transporting anything related to electronic waste. So countries need to actually deal with such kind of waste within their boundaries. Otherwise, it's very difficult. And most of our countries, let's say, for example, in Nepal, we still don't have proper infrastructure to actually manage electronic waste. So we ourselves, we are like one of the first pioneering companies to actually who have started collecting electronic waste and dismantling at till some level. But when it comes to PCB, we don't have recycling facilities. And now, by nature of the laws, we are bounded to actually store such kind of waste until unless we really find a solution from other countries. So these are one of the few challenges that we see. But to come to the solution part of it, when we talk about the whole circular economy, until unless businesses who don't work with companies like us, other waste management companies, until unless we both don't come to a platform together, we cannot reach to a circular economy, because businesses will produce these waste. And right now the system is they are relying on the government to actually, or let's say, or people like us to actually manage the waste. But if you look at the EPR policies in the Western countries, or even we have seen EPR policies in South Asian countries like India and all, so these policies bind such businesses to work with waste entrepreneurs, and they somehow make sure that the waste, the products they produce and sell in the market gets back channelized through these waste companies back to creating the raw materials for the secondary market. So one is that. Second is, I strongly see a public and private partnership model for countries like us, because as a private company you cannot really establish such kind of infrastructure. It's very difficult. So a lot of funding is required, and that possibly could come from the a joint public and private partnership model, which I think might work in a country like Nepal.
All right, thank you so much. Because I really understand, because the electronic part right now is, it is not being catered for. We are recycling metals, we are recycling somehow rubber as well, but the electronic part, it is one of the largest waste on the landfills these days, right? And we have been making electronics for, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 decades now. Anyway, moving on to Santosh. Santosh, I want to understand the central treatment facility.
Sorry, Dennis, your voice is
My voice was distorted.
now
Okay,
it's
am I audible now?
yeah.
It is fine. Okay, I just want to understand, like Santosh is working with the central treatment facility, right? I want to understand how we can, how these facilities benefit a community, because they are very expensive to run, right? And there is public agenda as well, there is government agenda as well, there are multiple agendas over here, but we also have to make sure, like we are contributing back to the economy. So I want to understand how we can establish more central treatment facilities in the region. What are the ways? How did you do it? Just want to briefly, like get an understanding of that.
Thank you, Dennis, for the question. So basically, central treatment facilities, it came with the idea like the many waste management policy, especially the hospital waste management policy, been focused to the single hospital or its each healthcare institute to settle their waste, to build a treatment building, purchase a facility, hire a human resource and do that. But like since a long period of time, such policy not even work. Like very few hospital try to settle their waste or according to their guideline. Then we came up with this idea, like because like hospital, they even have a willingness to settle this waste, then they even ready to pay for that. But like waste management operation itself are quite complex, so that hospital cannot able to drive that complexity of waste management operation. Then the local government even like they have a regulation to regulate hospital waste, but they cannot effectively regulate all the healthcare institute, lack of infrastructure. So that's why this central treatment facility, it's a common kind of facility. It really simplified the operational complexity of each healthcare institute, basically hospital, nursing homes, dentals, even clinics. The another is it's a quite cost effective for all the hospital. Like hospitals should not make their own building, buy a different autoclave, even to hire a human resource to manage their waste. So it's a simplify the complexity of the waste management operation, and it's a cost effective. More than that, it's eco-friendly, and it's like it impact, it cover more population, like more big city, more metropolitan city. So
Okay.
so basically like those local government, they even cannot regulate each healthcare institute for the better waste management. Then the city of central treatment facility is one of the best solution. Then it's a common, it's can scale up. So more as
Okay.
how we can build up is like it's a the two as Raghvendra ji also mentioned about, it's a public private partnership is one of the
Partnership.
best solution to bring local government and entrepreneurs to the collaboration to establish such kind of facilities, which really works as we are working since 5 years.
Okay. Okay. That's awesome. That's awesome. You know, the like this is
Yeah,
one of the
Danish, can
most.
I add one thing
It's
that
four
according your
o'clock.
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
like
Sure. Sure.
also for the land, like you read some public issues, like there is a quite a challenge to obtain a land to establish a
Mm-hmm.
central treatment facility. So
Mm-hmm.
basically in the context of our developing countries, basically all the local government, they run a local landfill site for the municipal waste management. So
Mm-hmm.
if we select some land portion close to the such a landfill site, inside such landfill site, or even to the route of the direction close to the landfill site, would be a better option to run facility for a long time when the municipal waste also managing on a same landfill site.
Okay, okay, that is awesome because this entire region has more or less similar challenges, right? And having a central treatment facility in a municipality or in the region will help us drastically reduce our carbon footprint and aid businesses, aid hospitals, aid factories to get involved into sustainable practices. So moving on, Ms. Sonia, I read that you have a bit of journalism background, right? So whenever you are writing about something, right, which is related to environment, there is a reaction from the public as well. There is a reaction from the government as well. There's a reaction from private institutions as well. So whenever you are writing something like on the environment, what is your design process? What is your thought process? What is your audience? Who are you speaking to? Are you speaking to them individually or collectively? How are you doing that?
Thank you, Danish. Actually, my background is publican, and I'm actually a journalist.
Oh,
Uh,
oh, okay.
so, so my writing process, my audience, I guess when you're writing for a paper, oftentimes your audience is your general, the general public, But for my paper specifically, we are also our audience is a very, I guess, a mix of educators, academics, researchers, and also the general public. So, but whenever I'm writing about, like environmental issues, I'm also always trying to find, not only write about the existing problems, but also how to interlink it with different sectors. Oftentimes, when we're writing on environmental issues, we tend to focus only on the environment. While that is very much important, it is unlikely to get larger attention, I guess you could call it that, unless and until you're able to interlink with, say, politics, economy, and the health of the people. And while doing that, while drawing that, that sort of, interlinkages between all these different sectors, one thing which I find personally very important is also to provide solutions to the problem you presented, oftentimes local solutions and also policy level interventions. So just to give you an example, back a couple of years ago, I was in the Everest region, and I found these local women, local Sherpa women there, trying to clean up the Everest Trail, which was once infamously known as the toilet paper trail because of how polluted it was, how mismanaged the whole trail was. So they've collaborated with another environmental organization also working in the same area. And what they've done is segregated waste at source. So, they collected all the waste from the trail, brought it down to the airport, where a flight carrying, which would have carried tourists in the Everest region, would then go back carrying tons of waste. And most of these were cans, plastic bottles, glass, etc. So they'll travel back to Kathmandu, where local entrepreneurs and certain groups would buy them, and then recycle it to turn into, say, utensils, and then resell it in the market. So yeah, so stories like that is very important to also present the positive side of things, like how this can be done, rather than only focusing on the negative.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. All right, moving to alumni from Pakistan, and I believe Mr. Salman wanted to share something, his entire thing. So I will come to you at the last, and then we can start the unmoderated discussion from you, and we can ask you questions over there. I just quickly want to understand Mr. Amir Hayat's involvement in, he is involved in the agriculture side, the livestock side, the politics side, all these dots which make a very, very, which make huge factors in deciding how we are generating our waste locally, right? And what we are doing about it. So, Mr. Amir, are you here? He's here. Okay.
Yeah, I'm here. Actually,
Amir,
my
I want to
internet is a little weak,
it's fine.
so
It's fine. For the broader audience, I want to understand that we understand that India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Nepal, we all face similar challenges when it comes to livestock farming. So what are those challenges which are common among us, and what are the solutions if we work together? What are those solutions if we work independently? What are those solutions, and what are those common challenges? Just quickly want to understand those.
well, you are specifically talking about the livestock sector, but I'd like to discuss both agriculture, crop farming, you can say, and livestock as well. Because in Pakistan and India, most of the people, the small and the medium scale farming community owned both of these things. Like if they are having a crop farming, they definitely have few animals they are rearing for their household usage or some sort of commercial. So let's start from the crop farming. I'm sorry. The primary challenge, particularly both the nation India and Pakistan are facing, is the air pollution in context of if we talk about the waste management. Most of the residue after rice to grow wheat, because wheat and rice are the most common cropping systems in both the countries due to their geography and some favorable climate or soil and water. So when farmers are normally harvesting their rice field, they have to burn the residue in air to grow wheat in time. So, but one thing everyone need to understand, that the air pollution and the smog is not primarily due to these farmers and the crop burning, because according to the FAO report in 2018, perhaps its share in air pollution is just 20%. Industry is contributing more. Pure transportation is contributing far more than these farming practices. Let me come to the livestock side here.
Okay, Mr. Ahmed. I think he dropped. I don't see him. I think he dropped, so I think I'll wait for 2 more seconds and then we can continue with Miss Amna. Okay, Amna, I think he has dropped. When he comes back, we'll hear him out some more. So anyway, coming to you, Amna, I understand you have this background in consulting in renewable energies and bio-waste management. Just want to quickly understand, what is the market share for these kind of renewable energy resources, and what are the steps we as a nation or as the communities we are taking to address and solve these challenges?
Okay, yeah. Hi. Yes, thank you, Danish. So right now, I mean, I believe our renewable energy, generation is just less than 10% as well. It's mostly, furnace oil based, and then there's hydel as well. But the trend is shifting towards renewables. I think in the recent wake of solar panel prices falling and wind as well, it's really, helped bring the tariffs down for sure. Waste to energy or waste management is another challenge altogether. And, like Sir just mentioned right now, that, and you mentioned that India, Pakistan, Nepal, we all face a similar challenge. And that perhaps at the end of the day is sort of finding something that works for the government and that also works for the private sector, right? For a project to be bankable. I'm not too sure if, I'm going off topic or not, but this is something that's very important. And IVLP program was an eye-opener and I learned so much from it, is that the government involvement and incentives is very, very, very necessary for such rollouts. And so recently, like I mentioned to you, the provincial energy policy, waste to energy policy announced by the Sindh government. So since we consult them on a number of other infrastructure projects, they informally keep taking feedback from us and from other private sector players as well, because they also want something concrete to happen. And initially, the regulator did not allow tipping fees, for example, in the tariff. And that is not allowed, then a private sector player will find it extremely challenging to come in and set up a waste to energy facility, because they will not be able to recover their costs, or their desired return will not be high. So I think through involvement in IVLP, through exposure to people like yourselves and people on this panel, what we have managed to do is actually convey this message to the provincial government, and the new policy reflects this. They have actually stated that they will facilitate the private sector developer to obtain land near landfill sites, and also to provide, the waste at source, because that is a very big political issue.
Challenge. Okay, Miss Amna,
yes.
I'm very sorry. I'm, like stopping you right here. I just wanted to, we have an unmoderated session in which you can, completely explain your situation, because I understand you
Right.
said you wanted to discuss about W2E projects, right? So we'll discuss those as well. Just wanted to
Sure.
quickly understand, since solar panels and the waste to energy, they also make a lot of waste when they are not usable
Yeah.
anymore. So that is
Yeah.
one other aspect as well. All right, moving on. And lastly,
Absolutely.
to Mr. Salman Tariq, just wanted to understand the WAM and where is it headed and what is it going to do that will actually revolutionize how we see waste, how we handle waste.
Well, Dawam is a startup. You're putting the revolutionizing of waste management, which is a huge thing, on one startup, but we're trying to play our part in one area of the supply chain. I think, as all participants in our discussion, we were talking about hazardous waste and municipal solid waste and e-waste, and then there's the collection, segregation, materials recovery, disposal. There's a whole supply chain. And we need a bunch of entrepreneurs and startups and the private sector to start playing their part in every step of the supply chain. And I think, as mentioned by one of the participants, as an entrepreneur, we don't call it waste. These are just unutilized resources. Where there's waste, there is opportunity, and there's tons of opportunities, especially in a place like Pakistan. This Karachi, the city that I'm in, produces 15,000 tons per day of municipal solid waste every day, 10% of that being recyclables and resellables. We've even gone to the point where we were repurposing 70% of the entire waste that we collected by selling the recyclables and converting the organics into compost that we actually sold in the market. And this was just a very basic materials recovery facility. So we did a bunch of experimentation the last 5 years, and we learned a lot. We gathered data. We thought, we're now focusing on what actually makes money as well. It's very important to explore business models that are environmentally sustainable but also financially feasible as well. So whatever we are doing right now is at the crossroads of financial sustainability, environmental sustainability. And because of my journey, we stumbled upon this refill and reuse idea, whereby we are now pitching to brands like Unilever and P&G and all these big players who are actually responsible for most of the plastic waste. Globally, they're one of the top polluters, and everybody has this immense pressure to do something about plastic waste. So we proposed an idea where there are these refill stations, and in retail outlets and hostels, in universities, in hospitals, we can actually provide consumers the option where they can refill the product. More than just environmental waste, environmental returns, what we are pitching to everyone is an opportunity to save cost. I think at the end of the day, for most consumers, environment is not a big thing, right? We have to show where the money is. We have to show where the financial saving is. So, and most of the time when we buy products like a shampoo bottle, a liquid soap bottle, 30-40% of the cost we're just paying for branding, packaging, filling, transportation, refill costs. People just are concerned about the product inside, right? So why not give the incentive to consumers that if you bring back your bottle and refill, say a shampoo or a liquid soap, it's going to be at a discounted price. The FMCG or the corporate saves because it doesn't have to buy or invest in bottles and the refillings and the shelf space. We make money, FMCGs make money, and consumers save money. So it's like a financially sustainable, environmentally sustainable model, which is going at the very beginning of the entire supply chain, where we are reducing waste at source. And it's some of the things that, when you're on an environmental or an entrepreneurial journey, you stumble upon these things. I came back to Pakistan with a background in waste to energy and the power sector and solar sector and the wind sector. That's another area and domain. And I had no idea that I'd ever stumble upon this retail sector, which is more eyeballs and footfalls and retails and consumer behavior. It's just
Awesome.
when you go on this environmental journey and have a passion that at the end of the day, I need to create impact, you stumble upon these models. So this is where right now we stand at the WAM. We have won finally, after 5 years of pitching this to various investors and people. For all the talk out there on environment and clean and green and panel discussions, nobody wants to support startups in environment. You have to do it on your own. So finally, we were able to convince and win this green innovation challenge, and we raised this funding, and now we're going to scale this idea up, but it was an uphill battle. It still is. There is so much waste out there and so much opportunities out there in this entire supply chain for entrepreneurs and startups and the private players to actually make money and create environmental impact.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, guys. Okay, guys, like this is the end of, I wanted to include everybody in the discussion. So I just had prepared these few questions. So, everybody feels included. So next session is an open house discussion. And we had two participants, two volunteers who said they wanted to discuss something. One is Mr. Shahzeb and the other is Miss Amina, I believe. Yes. Mr. Shahzeb wanted to discuss about design and management of entrepreneurship support programs dedicated to building innovative solutions to proper handling of unwanted, non-reusable waste and finding alternatives to single-use plastic. Shahzeb, over to you. Tell us about this. What is this? What are the use cases? What are the key takeaways? How are the communities involved? How are the businesses involved? And just generally, what do you want to talk about?
Thank you so much, Danish. I would also like to echo with what my previous panelist was saying in terms of how much support is out there for businesses like social businesses or startups that puts environment or climate change first. One of the things that like ecosystem builders and investors really need to understand that these people are coming up with all these solutions because they care so much of this environment. They are not just trying to, make money for themselves. So we have ran quite a number of programs to support entrepreneurs in Bangladesh. And I'm very happy to report to you that we were able to incubate 64 social businesses in the past 5 years. And many of them works in the field of environment, like 2 of them that I mentioned, but we also have enterprises that does upcycling. But here, what I really wanted to say is I think we really need to work together as a community, be it from the private sector, academia, incubators, accelerators, to help entrepreneurs design their businesses with beneficiaries. And this is something that also Debojit has mentioned at the beginning of our conversation. And like, let's say, we need to be able to create programs where we invite our entrepreneurs to leave their drawing board and actually come to the community and listen to them to see what really works. Like one example that I can give you that this company that I love so much, Garbage Man, has been doing in Cox's Bazar with development partners like UNDP. Bangladesh now hosts one of the largest refugee camps in the world. And what we see is a lot of donations and aid coming to this area and the camp to support these refugees. But most of these comes on plastic bags. And what happens with these plastic bags? These guys, they designed a project to integrate local communities and refugees to upcycle those waste. And then we designed a curated incubation program to support 5 enterprises with training, mentoring, access to network, and a prototyping grant of $10,000 thus they can design these businesses. And some of the things that we have really learned is, like, let's say, if entrepreneurs get hands-on experience and if they're also connected with the right kind of resources, like there are not too many people also who has a lot of experience in waste management. So if you can bring in those people as supporters or mentors in your programs, then this can really help early stage entrepreneurs grow. Thanks so much.
Oh, awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, Joseph. Let's moving on to Miss Amina. We are in the last 4 minutes of our unmonitored discussion. Just wanted to quickly understand what are those W2E projects and what are the make or breaks here?
Yeah, so generally, I mean, we have been trying to develop a large-scale W2E project for some time. And it's, really not as easy as it sounds to do so on a large scale. On a small scale, it works really well. on a large scale, and this is what I think IVLP also really helped me understand, is that you do need the public sector involvement. You do need public sector incentives as well. Waste sourcing, waste segregation, like Shazib also mentioned, and Salman also has practical experience of it. It's immensely challenging. There's a lot of, divide between the informal sector that's already engaged versus the formal sector. So now that, but fortunately now I feel like, the government is now more cognizant of the challenges, I think through interventions like IVLP and other missions as well, and experience. What the trend or the hope that I see is moving towards a make. And the recent policy that has been announced really bodes that gives us a lot of hope, wherein the government understands that yes, tipping fee is very important. So, okay, we're going to either refund you 75% of the cost, that's allowed in the policy, or else the government is taking the responsibility of providing the waste at source at the project site. So I feel like once that challenge is addressed, then other things will, fall in more smoothly, and it will help private sector participation for sure.
Okay, one last thing. There is also this. I was reading it somewhere, and it was saying that India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal. These are one of the most worst affected climate countries out there, right? But their carbon footprint is very, very less compared to the other big developed countries, right? And then the question arises here is that, you know what, for 150 years the developed countries burned coal, burned all these fossil fuels, and they are now developed, right? They can afford, they can actually like uh, you know uh, take that cost head on when it comes to using these sustainable practices, while us developing countries, we face this challenge that we have to burn fossil fuels because they are just cheaper, right? So how do you navigate through that agenda, and how do you get that to the public and to the government as well, because you are in the consulting side, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, this is very interesting and true to a certain extent. So I feel that, and I'm quite sort of like, I'm very positive about this. And, I feel like things are naturally forming into play. So yes, for us, at least Pakistan, our main concern, I mean, if you talk about maybe mining of coal and producing coal power, the cost of generating power through coal is now probably slightly higher than solar power, right? However, it helps the government achieve goals of being self-reliant, and because you're basically depending on indigenous fuel. So now the question is also on fuel security, right? With our massive import bills, etc. There are other issues.
Yes.
But there's a lot of work being done. I mean, we're also engaged in Sin Solar Energy Program, which is funded by the World Bank. So there are a lot of such programs that are also that will help expedite development of solar, and they will further bring down prices. And if this trend continues, then I feel like naturally the use of fossil fuels will come down, and this trend is already happening. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. So
Because I really wanted to put this question out there. A lot of people have that question because like we are a developing nation, we can burn fuel, we don't have a very huge carbon footprint, so what?
Yeah.
Right, so we need to
Yeah.
address that. So what? Right, we
Yes.
need to get that into people's head that this is dangerous for you, for
Yeah.
your generations to come, right? All right guys, I think
Absolutely.
this is our session. Unmoderated session comes to an end, and in this last 10 minutes we'll just discuss, or not just discuss, let's understand what are those key takeaways we are taking from this session, starting from my alumni from Nepal. Mr. Raghavendra, what is that one key takeaway you think you are taking to your home after this session?
I think, like my previous speaker mentioned, I see the whole ecosystem forming up for all of us, and hearing similar things actually gives us hope that yes, things will improve or things will change in upcoming few years. So I think changes that are happening in other part of the countries, other part of the world will also come here at some point of time. And most likely it will shape up the whole ecosystem in a better way than it is currently. So that's what I think is my key takeaway from this session.
All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Santosh.
Yeah, I would like to say basically today's topic, waste management as well as sustainable development. It's not a rocket science. It's a long-term behavior change among the people. So we must have a collaborative effort to combinedly battle within this issues. So let's get together, organize through the different network, different event, exchange ourselves and work together, try to collaborate each other to solve the different challenges and the issues of waste management and environment protection. So,
Awesome. You're absolutely right. Mrs. Sonia.
Hi. I think the informal sector that is working in this field and also the entrepreneurs, they should be encouraged. The government support is very much important, but at the same time, the general public, they need also be educated about this, and after that, I think it's also important to build public pressure, so our elected governments are also held responsible and to take corrective actions.
Okay. All right. Mr. Salman.
I think the key takeaway is that it's good to see that the youth is getting involved in this sector, because previously we were oblivious. We thought that this is the government's job, this is the public domain, it's nothing to do with us. But people, as in the panel, are trying to take individual action in their respective societies, and it's very important that even though in public domains, while something might be perceived as a public good, it might be the government's responsibility, but youth, through their successful private business models, can lead the way and make change happen. And I think we have to start taking action at an individual and a private level, whereby startups and private businesses can actually look at this as an opportunity rather than waste.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. I highly agree with you on here. All right, Miss Amina, what is your key takeaway?
I think key takeaway is that we're all in this together. We're all in the same boat, especially Pakistan, Nepal, India. And it's great to, connect with people who are already in this field. And I also feel now, generally we're just taught to chase profit and returns, but we should give a heavier weight to qualitative factors as well. So yeah, as opposed to purely quantitative, and this trend is definitely moving in that direction.
Absolutely right. Mr. Nurullah.
Yeah, thank you. I think it was a very good discussion, and for me particularly, to get to know about the different initiatives in different countries across the South Asia region, and also very good to know about the Bangladesh initiatives in the entrepreneur youth sector. So for me, that was a good learning, and I hope to continue with the discussion with my peers and across countries. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Mr. Jibut.
Yeah, so I think it was a very good discussion. I learned a lot from each and every participants and also the keynote. So what I understand is like we have only one planet and we need to take care of it, because if we don't take care of it, then this is our home. So we should be taking care of our home. And us as human beings, we have been driven by more like profit and other issues, but it's high time that we realize that the cost of environment is higher than us not taking care of it. And as a result, when we are designing businesses, when we are designing any sort of commercial activities, we should be mindful of the environment and its impact. And also we should have the waste management system integrated in the whole business value chain, so that everyone in the community stays well. Yeah.
Absolutely right. Mr. Shazay, would you like to end it with your key takeaway?
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I think I will leave this meeting inspired because I think we have panelists from many different industries, from journalists to entrepreneurs to development practitioners. But where we all have really agreed is about taking actions to fight, in general, waste management or climate change. But I would also like to request to all the other alumni and panelists, let's keep connected, that we continue this discussion and we come up with joint projects. Thank you so much.
Awesome, awesome. So okay, that concludes our session. There were takeaways. My takeaway is that again, we are all in this together, and there are different kind of. If we take about the animal behavior of a wolf, right? So if you send a wolf alone, he can hunt. If you send a wolf in a wolf pack, they can hunt even better, right? So I see waste as a challenge. If we hunt it together, we can do it effectively, and we can almost overcome any challenge in the public agenda, whether it is a politics, whether it is just somebody who wants to make an impact, right? So that kind of behavior, that wolf pack behavior, I believe it is the need of the day, tomorrow, and the future, right? That is my key takeaway from the session. I highly encourage you guys, if you guys have questions regarding each other's work, we still have a few minutes on our hand. We can like, you guys can ask questions. If anybody has a question, they can raise hand, and we can start from there. Okay, Amina, please go on.
I'm sorry, Danish, I don't have a question. I forgot to mention Bangladesh, that is prime and so important. So I'm really looking forward to, the nexus of our countries to work together and come up with great solutions, and also to, learn from the failures and successes. Learning from failures is very, very important.
It is. It sure is. It sure is. The central treatment facilities, it is actually the requirement of each and every nation on this planet, each and every community on this planet. We must have those facilities. We must take those actions, right? It should start from our home. It should start from the upbringing of our children. It should, if we see somebody who is not doing it, rather than, beating them on the head, it is always better to help them understand why is it important. Maybe they are thinking it about from a different perspective. How can we change those perspective? Yeah. And that is where the journalism comes in. That is where our social relations comes in, that we put that story out there for the world, that what, we have to fix this. It has to be fixed now, or it will be too late, because the glaciers are already melting, right? The landfills are already filled. The population is growing at a crazy scale. We are thinking about moving to another planet, right? So there are all these challenges are on our hand, and if we are together, if we have minds like this, I'm fairly confident and definitely confident that we will move forward with this. uh, Anybody else has something to contribute? Just wanted to like say that, what, I have this thing in my heart. I want this to reach out to the entire alumni network, the entire world out there who's going to see it in the future. Okay, I see nobody wants to share it. Maybe Salman, you have something to say. You always have something to say. It's very exciting to hear you say some things.
Yes, no, I mean, I could just say that earlier, maybe you raised the point that, developing countries are probably not responsible and developed country is. That's true, but, we can't just keep sitting here and thinking that the developed countries will do something. There, yes, absolutely, they are responsible for financing it. There is financing available. We have to make sure that there are enough projects being pitched in our countries to access those financing as well. For example, there is a green climate fund out there, but if you don't have an active environmental ministry, you don't have active entrepreneurs making projects related to environment in your own country, then you will miss out on access of those funds as well. So we just can't sit here and say, oh, it was the developed countries and it's not our responsibility. Point is, we have this bad air, we have the poor quality of water, so we have to do something about it as well. There is a thing called climate adaptation. There's a thing called climate mitigation. We have to adapt ourselves. Nobody else will come here and then adapt for us if sea levels are rising. So again, the point is, the climate problem is overwhelming when you look at it, but you have to break it down into manageable, digestible chunks across the entire supply chain and across sectors, and every organization, individual has a role in that small box. And we have to, the only way we're going to solve this climate crisis in the timeline that we have is if we crowdsource the solutions across stakeholders. That's the private sector, individual sector, the government sector. Yes, the government has to lead and provide policy and economic incentives. The best way to get people to do something about it is economic incentives. 4 years ago, when I co-founded my startup, the first thing that I did was solar. And I had to go and convince people, why aren't you putting up solar on your rooftop? Right now, they don't need Salman or any other organization to convince them. Everybody started putting up solar. Why? Not because they're environmentalists, because people started seeing this actually saves money. Financial incentive and economic incentives are the best motivator for people to do action. And clean, green environment, waste management does not mean that you just bleed money. You can actually save money. We just need to show this to corporates, to the government, to individuals, and the larger. Just like my reuse model might look like a hassle for people to bring back their bottles, but if you place these machines closer to people where people live and they get a 20% discount in their usual groceries, that is a good incentive. So we need to discover these economic models and do whatever we have in our own capacity.
Awesome. Shazib, coming back to you, can you like briefly tell our broader audience, what are those opportunities out there for entrepreneurs, eco-entrepreneurs, that they can use to, fund their ventures? Because it is costly, right? You need to have money in the pocket. How can you do that?
Very interesting question, but I think at the beginning, I think Salman has mentioned this a couple of times. For any kinds of business, it's really difficult to get funded if you do not have a business model that works, that is scalable and that is making money, be it a social business. So I think the easiest options are to speaking to friends, family, and fools who trust you on your ideas. The other thing is there are, I think, enough innovation challenges, competitions that you can utilize to receive funding. I mean, like the first time when I started my business, I also did start with a super small grant, but it came from EM to Center, and then I did not know that by 7 years I would be able to build a business that makes sense, right? The other thing is many corporates, like the way Garbage Man was really able to scale their operation is working with corporate partners, they work with Unilever in Bangladesh, and then all these companies produce tons of waste, right? And if you can give them a solution to their waste, they are definitely going to become your customers, right? So really bootstrapping your ideas can also be a great way to launch and build your business.
All right. So there is bootstrapping. Then there are, startup accelerators out there like Y Combinator or I guess ScaleX, and there are multiple other ways to generate the funds as well, just for my broader audience. All right. Santosh would also wanted to add something. Santosh, please go on.
Yeah, thank you again. So basically what I would like to add is again, waste management is it's quite complex in its operation. So like we should change the behavior of the people. So the expertise of that really change behavior of community, every individual, even a hospital, healthcare institute. Basically, like right now we are working on 5 different hospital of the Nepal government. Like then we are putting like the full-time employee as a field coordinator there to check all the operation right there, to transfer all the waste management expertise on there, and to institutionalize hospital to build a different waste management section to follow up all that operation. So what I mean to say with that, with this example is like it's quite complex to transfer the real the working expertism to institution, to the people, and to change their behavior. So that's why it's quite important to produce such kind of academia, such kind of student volunteers, like those even can go back to the people and let them know about the behavior changing information. So I think this is most important, that if we exchange these all will impact more than we are working on. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So I think this is like we are heading towards the end and the new beginning as well. You can all, connect with each other through their WhatsApp group, through the alumni network groups. And Amina says, I have started composing at home, got children involved. That's always nice. Okay, so I would like to end this session with a thank you note. First of all, thank you so much, everyone. You took out your time. You're here to share your stories. You're here to, like tell us that we are not alone in this race, that we are all in this together. And sooner or later, this has to be done. The sooner, the better. And again, thank you so much for coming from Nepal, from Bangladesh, from Pakistan, and taking out that critical time, because time is actual value. Time is actual money. Time is everything, right? Because we are in the time series data right now. So just wanted to quickly thank everybody here, and thank you for teaching me and teaching us that there are a lot of challenges out there, but with challenges comes opportunities. With opportunities comes, just the joy of solving them. I am an engineer. I love solving challenges, and I believe every human out there loves to solve challenges. And as long as we love to do it, it is, how we move forward as a human species, as global citizens. And Shanela, Wakar, maybe you guys want to add something, or just like end the session here, I believe.
Thank you so much, Danish, for the wonderful moderation. And yes, you are so right. For me, actually, this was more of a quick masterclass session where we had sectoral experts from the different countries and different subthematic areas. So you are so right that challenges are there, but it's up to us that how we are supposed to transform those challenges into opportunities so that we may find solutions to our common problems. So with this, we are going to sign out from here. Thank you so much, everyone, for your time and participation. It was lovely seeing you all. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye.
Likewise, likewise. Bye bye. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Thank you.
Keep doing the awesome work, guys and
Thank
ladies.
you.
Bye-bye.